just wanted to kind of quickly go over what I'm expecting you to do for this week. So you've made a mood board, which thinking about it over the week, it's not quite a mood board, right? It's kind of like just kind of getting your elements together and sort of starting the process. Now we're taking photos and doing masking. So I haven't actually had an opportunity to take a photo, but my idea is I think I'm just gonna sit and try and sit in this position as close as I can get, and then take a photo of me with my hands, me holding a bowl, and then my hand up, and then another image of me holding two objects in my hands, and then superimposing those two things. Um, Kind of was talking about painting them as well, but that's kind of my thought. I might also just do the arms, or I was also thinking some of the plants, the potted plants as well. So I'm still kind of working out my photograph, but so I'm not going to talk about that photograph part, but this week is taking the photographs. So I don't actually have those yet. So just take a couple photographs. And you should refer to week 6, 7, I think 5, 6, and 7, and I put that in the modules. So if you want to review taking photographs, most of you did pretty well at that. So it's going to take time for me to get that lit and ready, and I don't know how good a job I'll do with that. But what I wanted to just kind of quickly go over is what I expect this to look like, what you're going to turn in. So, like this mirror, I didn't actually do very good cutouts of these things, right? I just did some quick cutouts, and I just wanted to show you a little bit, cutting those out a little bit more carefully, and what I mean by that. So here's the mirror. It looks actually identical to what it was, just because I put this background layer in here, but I'm just going to throw this background layer out, and I'll get rid of this mask. Okay, so let's just delete this layer mask. So this is what it looked like when I first started. And I didn't take a very good masking before because I just was collecting images. But now I want to get all the masking done, so when I put everything together, I have all the masking completed and I can just continue on. What I ended up doing, and I'm just going to go over some quick masking things, I did select and I did this subject, if you recall. And it did a pretty good job of selecting out the object. There's a couple of places where it left it in, so I just did that, and I did a mask. And then you can see that there are still some little chunks of gray that it left. It didn't quite catch them, so let me show you another way to do this also. Be careful that you are on your color layer or not on your black and white layer for this, because I'm going to use select color range, and I don't think we actually did this in the class yet. So make sure that you're in the color portion and not the black and white, not the mask, because if you go to select color range, it's going to be kind of weird because it's going to be picking out the mask the whole time, or at least looks like it did grab the color, but just be careful. That just happened to me earlier. I was testing this. I ended up accidentally trying to do a color range on black and white. It did not work very well. But I want to do color range, and we'll do this a couple times so you can see what I'm talking about. But it works pretty well, and it has like a select. So I'll just kind of zoom in a little bit. I'll select out this gray portion right here, and then it also has a plus sign, so I can select out other portions of this gray. So I'm just going to kind of go through and pick out some chunks of this gray, and it has this thing called fuzziness. Okay, and I don't want to like get into the mirror to see that, but I can increase this and get a better select, and I think that probably looks pretty good somewhere around in there. It's not going to be like a perfect mask, but it'll probably be good enough. I'll say OK, and you can see that it kind of selected out all the regions that, let me do that one more time, not as, what I started off with looks pretty awesome, I feel like. Let me deselect. Let me cancel that. Do that one more time. Felt like I had a better. look on that before. Okay, getting a little too detailed. I don't want to spend too much time on this. You saw the mask I had before. And what I did then is, if you notice, then I'm going to go to my layer mask, and I'm going to paint out with a brush. So I'm just going to grab my brush and painting black, because that'll hide stuff. But if you'll notice, the selection is the wrong direction. So I'm going to say select inverse. And then I'm just going to paint out the selections there. That. Undo that, or deselect, and you can see that my first one actually looked a lot better than the other one. And then what I did is I just made a new layer, and I said edit, fill, and I did 50% gray. And I think that I like this because then it kind of shows anything that's not masking well, like that area right there. And you know, I'd want to go through. This one doesn't look as good as the one I just had, but you know, I want this cleaned, right? And this gives me a good view on it. I can tell that it's clean. So I'll probably go back to what I originally had. I did the same thing basically with this gold leaf thing. You know, I kind of just same idea. I went to select. I did color range. On this one, I actually selected out the black section right there. And it's so perfectly black that it's going to make a really good selection, but you can see that's selecting out black. So I can actually invert, see that, say OK, and that just cut out the, or didn't cut, but selected out the gold leaf, and then I can just make a mask like that. Now it's pulling out some more of the stuff, so I should probably play around with the fuzziness. You know, the original one I just had there looked a little bit better again. So I'm playing around with these now with you going faster, but you know, I could get into the fuzziness a little bit. Let's see if that gives me a little bit better. It's cutting out some of the blacks, but it looked a little bit better on my first one. So again, I'll probably go back on that. But you know, you'll notice that also right here on this mask, I'd want to paint out the fine art part. So this one's ready and clean, and I'm ready to work with it. And I did something similar with the rattlesnake. You know, in this case, it was a little easier just to select with the quick select tool, and I just kind of selected out the gray regions of the. I disable this layer mask. You can see that it kind of had this transparency, so I was just kind of basically. I was actually not selecting the snake, but the spaces between the snake. And then I was able just to make a mask really quickly that way. And so basically the idea is to go through and pull these out one more time, but get really clean masks. So like I might save this now as a PSD, and then I have this one ready, right? So I'm gonna save this as a PSD, and you'll have to keep track of this. Maybe some of you that don't have this Photoshop, you're not doing it this way, but I'll just call it rattlesnake. You can see it's a pretty long name. I'll just take out most of this name. It's a Photoshop document. I'll call it rattlesnake cut or mask. And I'll put this one, I'll make a new folder. Call it masks. And this has layers in it, and it's gonna be kind of a large file. I'll do the same thing with the mirror. This one, make sure that I'm not even going to save it. I don't want to lose that work I had in there, but I'm going to save this one as a mirror, and I'll do the same thing with the gold, and I'll save it. And the idea being that now I'm going to have all these cut out. Now I'm not, I want to keep their scale. I don't want to have them small. I want to keep them large because when we get to next week, we're actually going to be combining these things. So last thing I would do is I would just go into, I have, this is where we started, right? And what I would do is this is actually, I would save this as, and, I've already made one, but, so this is one, and then I just made two, and I'll name this one two, just so I don't lose track of what I'm doing there. I'll save that. Now I have Ganesha 2. And basically what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make a new layer, and I'll fill it with gray. And basically, I'm just going to do this one more time, and I'm just going to do that same process that we just did. I'm just going to take the snake now, and I'm going to bring it over. I'm just going to drop it in. But this time now I have perfect mask on it. And all I'm really showing is that I have a perfect mask at this point. Same with the mirror. I'm going to just take the mirror. I'm going to take it and bring it over to Ganesha. Drop it in. Guess I forgot to save or accept the transform. But the idea here is just now similar to the mood board here. All we're really showing is that we have the work done on all of the masking, right? So that I can begin the process of putting these together. And all I'm really doing is it's just more like proof that the work is done. Okay, so it doesn't matter the orientation or how these things are laid out. That's not the goal of what we're doing here. We're really more just trying to show the masking. It's kind of in some way busy work, but that's not the best cutout. But the point being is just proof that you're getting it. Also in here, I'd have my photographs in here as well. So it's similar to that mood board, but this time we're just showing all the cuts and everything's done, everything's cut, right? This image here that you're generating isn't really going to be useful ultimately in the end. It's just showing everything that's done, right? The big deal is that I actually have the rattlesnake and it's actually cut out. So again, in terms of pre-production, you're getting everything ready. You're working on the process of getting things completed, right? And so this is the process. You're taking photographs. So again, refer to those modules before if you don't remember. You're going to take your photographs. You're going to bring them in. You're going to do the same thing. You're going to cut them out. And then you're going to do all the masking. If you need to do any color correction or any color grading on those, go ahead and do anything that you think you need to do there. And you're going to put them all into this one image. And it just shows that the work's done. And I know some of you may not get all of your stuff cut, and you may still need to get more images next week, it's possible. But we want to have this work completed ahead of time, so it's part of the production process, and that's what I'm looking for you guys to do. Okay, I'm going to stop it here.